Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 30 of the Gaming Pubcast. As you can see, got the trio, myself, Duncan, and Tom. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hello.
How are we all? We have had a good week since I last saw you.
Yeah.
Yep.
a
All
week
all
ago.
good. All good. Been
Doing
quite
well.
quiet, I think, gaming wise.
Oh no, it's going to be a quick episode then.
Don't worry, you know me. I can talk for the world, let alone England, about anything. But no, I've still been playing a lot. But no, I think it's a bit quiet except for big releases. But we're in between the big releases.
Yeah.
Although there was one today. There was I think we haven't chatted about before. That was Forza Motorsport, but it's literally come out. We're recording this on Thursday, and it's come out today. I haven't played it, so
It looks good.
it looks very good. But I think we were going to talk about the fact that Tom, you've been playing
I've been playing Forza Horizon 5 on the Game Pass, which has been fun. I found out I'd scheduled a night with a friend to play some two-player, and they realised I had to download 128 gig of the game and couldn't just play two-player on Game Pass. So, I fell asleep before it had finished. So we're yet to play two-player, but he will lose. Also been playing Terminator 2 on the Amstrad, which is a blast from the past.
Now, I was looking at this before we came on, and I'm sure I remember this being on various platforms, but it was basically a load of mini games or levels. There was like a shooting or racing, and then there was puzzly kind of games where you had to rewire a hand.
That's right. Yeah, in fact, there were 3 different versions of the Terminator games based across different machines. So you'd had the Terminator 2 arcade, which everyone knows with the
was it like a House of the Dead kind of thing,
yeah, which was fantastic, good fun. Didn't really work well on the Super Nintendo with the Super Scope, but it did work well on other systems. Then you had Terminator 2 on the Super Nintendo, which was a scrolling type game, utterly dreadful.
I tried that. On the Steam Deck, and yes, not good.
Awful. And then you had Terminator 2 on the Commodore Amstrad Spectrum, and that was mini games. You'd reconstruct the Terminator hand, the face, race the bike, and then a separate level to race the truck down the flood channels in LA, and then you'd fight against the T-1000 across 3 different fights to win. It was a quick game, and
I think we were decided a little while ago, wasn't it? It was good at the time. Maybe not quite. Hasn't held up quite so well as some other games.
It's my guilty pleasure on the Amstrad, and I still have my original one that my mum bought me all those years ago in Sandbach in Cheshire in the market. And
so, are we talking a tape or a disc?
We're talking a tape. Yeah.
So do you still sit there and wait for it to load up?
Wait for it to give me a syntax error B. Blow the cassette and start again. But no, the only system I'm aware that had it on a cartridge type disc was the C64. In fact, it came as a packing game as a Terminator 2 special. And the C64 version was graphically superior.
Well, C64 was the one that's, if you wanted to show off the graphics, because it had, I don't know, something like 256 colours instead of 16, and then 32 colours that the Spectrum had, I think, by the end of its life cycle.
There was I was just going to say there was a Terminator game on the Sega Mega Drive, wasn't there?
That's right. Yeah,
I remember that one. That's the one where you would fight. It was like a platform game.
That's right.
You would fight a Terminator at the end of each, or you would fight the Terminator at the end of each level. But you weren't.
That was the first game, wasn't it? Based off the first movie.
I think. It was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was based on the. You weren't. Yeah, Kyle.
Kyle Reese.
Apparently, Kyle Reese. Yeah, and then set in 2029 as well, the first level. So
Yeah.
we're almost coming up to that date.
Well,
And then
there is everything about AI now, so Skynet's coming.
It's coming. And they enhanced it with the Mega CD as well. So it had better cutscenes, more colors, better sound on the Mega CD.
So instead of a static picture as a cutscene, it had a 3 frames per second clip of the film.
Exactly.
That lasted about 5 seconds.
And you paid £60 for it, yeah.
Not to go off in a whole different angle, but I did have a Sega Mega CD, and I really thought that was. I got one, funnily enough, about 10 years ago, but I didn't keep it. But no, actually, I say 10 years, about 20 years ago, I should actually say. So my mum partner, at the time he worked at the tip, and someone threw one out. He brought it home. It was like a Sega Mega CD, had loads of games with it as well.
Wow.
The benefits of working. It used to bring back quite a lot of different like gaming stuff, but that was one of the things I remember. Someone threw that out. Probably didn't think it was worth anything, but probably now I'll be looking at. But yeah, like I'm sure it had Prince of Persia. I might be lying there.
Yeah, there was. It was just a more colourful version of Prince of Persia, really, wasn't it?
So was it the Mega CD 1 or the Mega CD 2?
Ooh,
you had the big one that touched on the big Mega Drive, didn't you? And then you had the one that sort of sat
side by side.
Just made it.
I think it was
at the same
side
size
by side. It was side by side.
So Mega CD 2. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a Shinobi game with it as well. If I remember.
There was pretty much every Mega Drive game, wasn't there? But they just added CD at the end and made it slightly more colourful.
I thought it was like pretty good graphics, to be fair. Like
For its
considering
time, it was.
For its time, yeah, definitely.
Interestingly, you say about the CD versions of things. When they released the Philips CDI in Dixon's as a demo machine, the one in Southend had it next to the Mega Drive. And they had Palm Beach Golf playing next to PGA Tour Golf. Now, if you've ever seen Palm Beach Golf, it is photorealistic graphics, animated people.
Oh, I think,
yeah. So you're talking £125 for the Mega Drive, £10 for the game, whatever it was, £600 for the CDI, but photorealistic graphics, and it could play video CDs with the video cartridge. The amount of people that used to queue up just to play this thing, but Palm Beach Golf could not be played properly by anyone. It was not a playable game, whereas PGA was. The comparisons in that era were amazing.
Oh, it's the Philips CDI. It was literally lots of pictures, wasn't it?
Yeah, motion video and pictures. Yeah.
So it looks like you were playing on there, and it had digitized players.
What was the console? Was it the Mega CD or was it the Sega Saturn which did the CC? Like it was actually you watched videotapes. There was that one game where you would
Voyeur.
That was the Night Trap.
Night Trap.
Yeah. What one was that? Was that Mega
that was
CD?
Mega CD?
Yeah. Well, Night Trap actually came out on the 3DO and the Mega CD. The 3DO version being the superior copy.
Yeah.
So
I did attempt to play it on my Steam Deck, but it's not the easiest thing to understand because no instructions or anything like that. Yeah, I didn't get it, and I've seen some because there was a documentary I think on Netflix, and it involved about the fact that Night Trap was I think the first game that was brought in front of the US Congress because of how.
Gonna say,
they thought it was violating their children.
Because I know Mortal Kombat got brought in front, didn't it, at the time?
That was the one that brought about the ratings. Yeah.
I know Super Nintendo brought it out without red blood, didn't it? And Mega Drive had it with actual, well, not actual blood,
I think they found there was a code, wasn't there, on the eventually? So there was an actual replay code that proved that the Super Nintendo did have the blood in it. Mm-hmm. It had just been locked behind some code or something.
That's right.
Anyway, what have you been playing this week? 'Cause I said
Me?
I didn't want to go off on a different angle. And
I mean, I've still been playing Starfield a lot. I think I've got about two days worth of hours onto it by now. But a different thing that I've been playing. One thing people might have seen, I put a video up. Cocoon. It's a game on Game Pass. It's by the same. Well, it's not by the same people. It's people who left Playdead, who make Limbo. It was the lead designer from Limbo and Inside, made his own company, and they made a puzzle game called Cocoon. Now, it's hard to explain. You have little spheres that your character can go in, and there's a whole world in that sphere, but then they can come out of that sphere and carry that little sphere around, and it powers lifts and different powers abilities. But then you find different spheres that have different whole worlds in them, and you can go in with one sphere and yeah. So it sounds more complex, but it's basically get from A to B, and yeah, it's got really good reviews. It's really, really clever puzzle game. So if you like puzzle games, highly recommend that. Tom, you've got a Game Pass at the moment, so you can play it. There's no excuse.
Yeah.
I've only played it for about an hour, really, and it's starting to get hard. So it is one of those ones where, I mean, I was sitting with my 5-year-old playing, and one time he went, "But you can go in there and take that with you." And I was like, and I'd been sat there for about 3 or 4 minutes going, I haven't got a clue what to do. And I'm impressed. I'm really happy that he worked it out, because it meant I didn't have to. But yes, a 5-year-old worked out a puzzle before I did. But it is one of those, if you see it, you'll get a puzzle straight away, and it's really good. So yeah, it looks really good. The puzzles are really clever. And the whole going inside a world and coming out a world and taking other spheres inside and all this, yeah, it works really well. It's literally one button game. You've got the stick and one button. Yeah. So it's not complex, although it sounds really complex. Once you start playing, it makes it really obvious. And then I've also been trying out some random terrible games on PlayStation 2. Because there's so many games. I'm going through lists of games on various sites, and I found Disney Golf, which I could only play it for about half an hour at most, because the controls were just abysmal. You try to aim, and you know how you can aim a little bit, and it was shooting off in a completely, miles away from where I am, and so the controls were terrible. It was like what was the game? Was it not Everybody's Golf? That was PlayStation, wasn't it? But one of these, it was basically a cartoony golf game, and it was not very good. It was a 4 or 5 out of 10 kind of thing. But the other one, which I was hoping would be good, I don't know if either of you played this, Minority Report. Have you played?
Yeah,
that?
Long time ago.
I know.
Oh god, it's awful. I don't know if it's meant to be based on the movie, or it's meant to be based just on the short story that the movie's also based on, the Philip K. Dick one. But it does. The main character doesn't look anything like Tom Cruise. The investigator doesn't look anything like Colin Farrell. The story is just boring. The combat is boring. The graphics are average at best. The cutscenes are all in 3D, so there's no, it's not even got clips of the film in or anything. And even if it did, you'd be like, hang on, that looks nothing like the character in the game. Why is Tom Cruise in this? So yeah, it's awful game. And apparently it was awful on all platforms it was on. So yeah, that's another game to not play if you're going to go on a retro run.
Films that have starred Tom Cruise that have been made into games, not a good record, because I really didn't like Mission Impossible on the Nintendo 64. So Minority Report, Mission Impossible. I've never played Minority Report, but you haven't sold it to me, Duncan.
It's basically it's a punch. You got punch and kick, and then he jumps jumps in that weird sort of like sort of arms by your side kind of jumping, or sort of arms up and arms down as soon as they jump with their legs straight. So the animation is terrible. The
Top Gun
fighting
on
has no tactics, no strategy in it. It's just tap 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 tap, and it's not very good. It doesn't connect very well. So you say the Top Gun?
Top Gun on the GameCube though, great game.
I was going to say, is there any other more Tom Cruise? I did not know there was a Top Gun game.
Was that just a fight, like a plane fighter game?
Yeah, it was a bit. What was that Sega one that used to be out years ago?
Afterburner.
Afterburner. Very similar graphically, though. Absolutely fantastic. It was called Top Gun Combat Zones, if I remember rightly. Just checking now. And really good game. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember if Tom Cruise was featured at all, but it was a fantastic game. I think I've still got it upstairs somewhere.
Oh yeah, it was on
so it was out on
GameCube, PS2,
GameCube,
and
PS2,
Game Boy Advance. Strangely,
Oh.
but no, look, it looks for the time, because it was 2001 for the time.
Was it as good as Star Fox on the N64?
See, it's basically Ace Combat, really, isn't it? I wonder if it was actually who was it developed by? Digital Integration and Titus Interactive.
They're out of business.
Titus, I can imagine, probably did one of those did the Game Boy version. I can imagine. So they did lots of Digital Integration did flight sims for Amiga, Amstrad, Atari, ZX Spectrum, Commodore, and PC platforms. There you go. They were known for flight sims.
69 out of 100 it got. 63 out of 100. But by the sounds of it, Tom, you would give it better.
I'd give it about 80%.
So up there with Starfield, then that's what the Starfield's got.
Yeah, I gave up on Starfield.
Oh dear, no.
Send me a save file.
Oh well, there's plenty. If you're playing on PC, there's plenty of them on. If you go on Nexus mods, there's all sorts of. I mean, then again, if you want to cheat, you could just on PC you could use console commands and get all as many levels as you like, all the item resources, money you want. Because there's some people that have literally said, "I bought this game just to build ships." And you can also, there's a size limit on the ships, but on the PC you can remove that, because I know somebody's uploaded a ship onto Nexus mods that they said they've put, this will crash your PC, because it's a whole city, because when you build a ship in Starfield, you actually have to climb through all those bits to get to the cockpit. So it's not just it doesn't just look like that ship. You actually go into that ship and walk around that ship. And so somebody did this one, and they said, if you can get the game to work, it's pretty much a whole city in a ship. There's a picture, and it's just odd. It's basically taking over the world of this, whereas normally there's a landing pad that your ship lands on. But if you want to try it, go onto Nexus mods. Go onto PC. Can make your game work better, more interesting. You can cheat as much as you like, or download save games. So, I'm not going to pressurize you. If you don't like it, if it's not for you, it's not for you. At the end of the day,
I'm going to play Disney Racing instead.
Or Disney Golf.
Yeah. Just now you know not to go to Disney Golf. Oh, excuse me.
In terms of myself, the only new game that I've been playing this week, and it came onto PlayStation Plus, was Callisto Protocol. I don't know if either of you
wanted to play that.
Play that.
Game.
Yeah, I played it. I've only played it for about an hour and a bit because it's just finding time to play it. I played it at night, which was a bad call.
Now, is it because obviously it is by the people who made Dead Space?
Yeah,
but it unfortunately came out about a month before the Dead Space remake came out.
I know. Yeah, so I was reading reviews. A lot of people preferred the Dead Space remake. I mean, I like
Was it
Dead Space, but
scary?
I like it's very scary. Yeah, so I played it at night, and then I went and walked my dog, and I was on edge. Then I was thinking like things were going to be crawling out. It's quite similar. It's Dead
Then
Space with
then
better
again,
graphics. There are like
if
the
it
combat's a bit different though.
if you're out at night and you get mugged, you can go, "Oh, thank God you're not a monster." Oh yeah, you can be Wally. I just thought you were a monster that
Yeah,
was
but
coming out of the
my
darkness to eat my
my,
brains,
my instant reaction would be to hit them around
shoot
the
their
head.
legs off.
Yeah, well, I don't. I've only just got a gun, so I've been
Oh,
walking around with like
blimey.
a baton for about. Yeah, so I don't know. Well, if you don't know the game, you're in a prison basically. I think you got to escape the prison. I don't know if you get out and there's more, or that's the game. I don't know yet because I'm only like about an hour through it. But yeah, so far I've enjoyed it, even though it is a bit edgy because it's where it's the lights flashing and you're going around corners and you don't actually really see until you're fully round. But no, I've been liking the game.
The first Dead Space was a proper sort of jumpy, scary. Yeah, you were always on edge. You never knew what was going to burst through a vent or something. And I think the second and third ones, although the second one was a good game, they didn't quite have that fear. It's a bit like Fear.
Yeah.
The first Fear game, oh my God, you didn't want to play that in the dark. But Fear 2 and Fear 3 were just shooter games.
Yeah.
Whereas the first one was a proper scary game. So
they do this. Sorry, Dunk. But they do this thing where you're like sort of shimmering through a gap, and you're already going through the gap, and then you see a monster on the other side, and you're like, "Well, it's too late now. I'm on my way there now." If I had known, I would have just stayed in that room forever. But now I'm on my way to take on this thing that I just seen eat a guard. But yeah, no, it's good. So I don't know if you haven't played it, recommend it. I don't know. I don't think the reviews were like amazing for it, but yeah, I mean it's on PlayStation Plus, so I don't know if is it on Game Pass.
It is not, no, and I don't think it because it won't come onto EA Play because it's not EA, is it? Because the Dead Space remake is EA. So no, I at the moment I have no plans to play it myself, but I do want to play it.
You could always put PlayStation on your Steam Deck, and and maybe we could share our one of us could share our login so you can give it a go.
Ooh, I didn't know you could. Oh yes, you could stream some games, can't you?
Yeah, so you can put the streaming app essentially on the Steam Deck, and you can play any of the online streaming games from the PlayStation catalog. So,
maybe I might take you up on that.
And Game Pass as well.
Yeah, I've got my Game Pass set up on there. That's I mean, Microsoft were actually really good with that. They pretty much as soon as the Steam Deck came out, they released the instructions to make Edge work with the Steam Deck controls, so that you could have an app on the Steam Deck homepage, and it works for me. It works good, flawlessly.
Wii U emulation on the Steam Deck is fantastic, by the way.
I've always wondered though, because obviously it does have gyro and all that, but the gyro kind of games like Zombie U were more as a second screen. So the fact that you haven't got two screens with the Steam Deck, does that affect it at all?
No, not at all.
No.
You can also plug in an external screen to the Steam Deck, and you could use it that way. But no, you use that. One of the fantastic things is to do a Dolphin emulator and play Mario Kart Arcade, GP1 and GP2, and F-Zero Arcade, which are all based around the same technology as the GameCube as it was, but super enhanced version. It's quite fun to play a copy of that. And we were trialing Star Wars Arcade Trilogy the other day on the Steam Deck.
What was that on?
That was arcade only, and it was the best Star Wars game ever released.
Oh yeah,
in my opinion.
Statement.
Yeah.
Better than Knights of the Republic.
No, yeah, that was my go-to. Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2.
Take a moment, we're talking the trench, with the staff. Yeah. Go down
Yeah,
trench
I think I remember that game.
Yeah.
It was basically one where you had to. It could move. Was that a version? You could where the whole booth moved.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. Fantastic game. Really, really good. There were a stand-up version, and there was the full pod version, and then a singular seat version. But as a game, it was fantastic. You could fight against Darth Vader. There was a training section. There was speed bikes. Then the trench war. I can't remember what the last one. I think it was killing the Death Star. I think it was the last one.
I don't know. I think Knights of the Old Republic for me. Yeah.
What
I do
about
like the Force Unleashed as well.
That was
So
good.
to say, do any of you like the new ones, like the Jedi Survivor, and what's the other one? There was the one before
Fallen Order.
I've got them.
Yeah.
I've got them. Graphically, they're phenomenal, but I find them almost like you. If someone was to put some breadcrumbs on the floor, you'd follow those breadcrumbs. That's essentially what you're doing. You're following a set route the whole way.
Yeah, it's a Metroidvania, so it's Metroid mixed with a bit of Dark Souls for me. And I'm not a fan of Dark Souls, as we've covered before. And I'm not Metroidvanias. I just end up getting lost. So I remember I played Fallen Order I think for about 5 or 6 hours, maybe about that kind of thing. Maybe 4 hours. I don't know, around that kind of time. And eventually, I was just like, you know what? This ain't for me. I'm just playing it because I want to see what happens, and I could just go on YouTube for that. But in terms of the actual game, I wasn't getting the enjoyment out of it. It's just not for me.
Do you like it? Do you like it, Martin?
I've only played Fallen Order. I haven't played the newest one. And again, I didn't play the whole game, but what I played of it was, I wasn't too bad. It was different than like other Star Wars games, but Knights of the Old Republic would be the one. But I haven't played the one you said, Tom.
I mean, I feel we can spoil Knights of the Old Republic, can't we, right now? Yeah, I think it's been a long enough time. But yeah, the twist at the end of Knights of the Old Republic, the fact that your character was like the big bad all along, but then you could choose to be the big bad, you could choose to be the goodie, you could choose to have a sort of, I don't care, and leave a lot of them to their own devices. It did sort of mean that, well, it was according to your, your score of how positive, what was they called? Paragon points or something. But you could essentially choose, and it was a bit like Mass Effect 3 in that respect, I think, where you could just choose to, your ending.
Yeah,
but the twist was almost as good as BioShock 1 for me. Yeah, those two are probably the best twists in video game history for me.
Maybe that'll be another.
I never played it, so.
Oh no! Oh dear! Have I just ruined Knights of the Old Republic for you?
No, because I'm not going to venture there.
Oh well. What it is, you're the big bad. There you go.
Amazing, thanks. I like Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Battlefront, I do like the Battlefront game.
Yeah.
Are you talking original Battlefront 2 or modern Battlefront 2?
PS4 Battlefront 2.
Okay, so yeah. Modern one.
Yeah. And what was
they were great games. They came out to middling, and but they were popular. They were fun, and they're still going strong, I think.
There was like a Lord of the Rings version as well, wasn't there? Like a Battlefront type of Lord of the Rings game where you be a Lord of the Rings character. And you just entered.
There was Battle for Middle Earth. Was it?
Love that game.
But it was where and then I'm gonna have to Google it now.
It was Return of the King, wasn't it? Where you'd go through and you'd fight certain things and have to operate certain slingshots or
The
things.
PS, with the
Yeah, it was on
PS2,
PS2, if I remember rightly.
the PS2 Lord of the Rings games, the graphics were really good.
Really good. And it was on the GameCube as well, which
Yeah,
was
all
fantastic.
those, and yeah, they looked, the characters looked like the movie characters. The games played well. Yeah, those are what games that held up well.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
from the PS2 and GameCube era. Have you found the game? Have you found the game,
I
Tom?
think it was
Mine.
that's all right. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. I think it is
Yeah.
the one.
Great
Okay,
game.
yeah.
I was thinking of.
Yeah,
But it
well,
reminds me of the Battlefront games because you can just
you did
like,
have the
play it.
battlefield sections, didn't you, where you were fighting in the battlefield?
That's right.
Yes, and then
Ministerial,
like
things like that.
you would because like when you play Battlefront, you can randomly appear as Yoda, can't you, or Darth
Yeah.
Vader or whatever. And I think that was the same, and like you would end up being like Aragon or Gandalf or something.
That's
And
right,
sometimes you would just be like a regular box standard character. So
Yeah, I never
that's what-
owned those games, but they always got good reviews, and a lot of people still nowadays in various groups I've been on Facebook still reminisce about how good they were.
Duncan, come around and play it. We'll put it on.
Indeed, definitely. Yeah, I'll have a little go with that. So I think we were having a little discussion earlier. Now, last week, I thought that we all came to a consensus that the GameCube was the best Nintendo console. Now, I don't know whether we worded it wrong, but Tom was telling me that that's not his favourite Nintendo console.
No.
No?
Super Nintendo is my
Super
favourite.
Nintendo. So it's not as controversial that we're all picking GameCube because we're not all picking GameCube.
No.
So
I think the consensus is we all really like GameCube, don't
Yeah.
we? But in terms of
was it maybe that we liked that compared to the N64?
I think that
that's
was
what Tom said. Yeah, he said
Okay.
it didn't get as much love in the
So-
N64.
So I think I may have lied in the podcast description. Otherwise known as completely forgot what we were talking about. But yeah, so our consensus said that is not that we all liked the GameCube the most. Although the GameCube Martin, which would be your Nintendo?
I don't know.
The best.
Don't know now.
Because of
Put me on
course
the
you're playing the Wii U a lot at the moment.
I do like the Wii U. Yeah,
You do sing
But
its praises, so
It's a phenomenal machine.
I like the Wii. I like the Switch as well.
come on, Desert Island Discs, but you're only allowed one. You're allowed to have all the games for it, all the games on one disc or cartridge or whatever format it requires. See, I never owned a GameCube or particularly played on one, but in the last few years, yes, I have had the opportunity to play GameCube games, and because I like the PS2, I probably do like the GameCube the most. The only one I really owned was the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance and 3DS. So I've only owned the handheld. I've never owned a Nintendo home console personally.
Yeah,
I
had
that's
a
a bad thing.
Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, and then I think I stopped at that point. But then they don't really bring out handheld anymore. Has that just been replaced by the Switch? Because what was the last handheld? 3DS?
3DS.
Yes, 3DS. Which letters after it was it? 3DS XL.
XL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to comment on which ones I've owned because it's embarrassing.
I think all of them pretty much, isn't it?
I mean,
Yeah.
the boy that came.
The Game Boy Original is definitely my favourite handheld of the Nintendo range. But I never liked the Game Boy Color. I owned them.
It did work because it wasn't backlit. The color wasn't really that. It was very washed out, and still, it didn't. It was very pointless upgrade for me.
Yeah,
I did own that, but that's only because my Game Boy got lost or broken or something.
Was the Game Boy and the Game Gear, were they out at the same time? Or was the Game Gear after?
They were.
Yes,
Game Boy,
Gear
Game
you could tell Game Gear owners because they had to have their backpack full of batteries.
batteries. Yeah.
And the Atari
Yeah, they
Lynx
had
as well.
to buy
Don't
it.
forget the Atari Lynx.
I did have the Atari Lynx, but afterwards, I remember being an adult and having an Atari Lynx. And yes, I had a Game Boy when I was a young boy, like probably 10 years old. So I'm sure that those at different times, or were there two different
Pretty much
models?
the same time. Pretty much the same time.
Okay.
The worst, the Game Boy was by far the biggest selling. The Game Gear second, Lynx third. Then they released a second version of the Atari Lynx, which
That's probably what I owned.
Yeah, the Lynx 2. But it never sold anywhere close to the other two, as far as I'm aware. But it was a phenomenal machine. The first one, I think, for me, was the better version.
I'm just looking up because I'm sure it was it Ballerina Toshinden
I had
or
the
something that was on the
I did
Lynx?
have the Game Gear, but you know the benefit of having them were being portable, wasn't it? But I always ended up just being near plug socket because I just played it with the power on because the batteries. So I was like, I'm not getting really the benefit. I might as well just play a Sega Mega Drive or whatever, or a Sega Saturn or whatever what I had at the time, which I can't remember. But yeah, whereas with like the Game Boy Color, you could get like battery packs, couldn't you? That you could charge up. I mean, I'm sure you could get battery packs with the others, but I remember having a battery pack, and I was like,
yeah, I've got the battery pack for the Game Boy original, and that was a godsend. I mean, the Game Boy lasted forever, but it was nice to have that as well. But we're forgetting two other handhelds that were released around that time, which is the PC Engine GT, which had an almost arcade perfect Street Fighter 2. And we are forgetting one other, which is completely just gone out of my mind. Oh dear. The other one.
I'm just looking up Atari. I'm trying to work out the handheld I had. Maybe it wasn't the Lynx. Was there another handheld?
There was the Wonder Swan.
Probably. No, it wouldn't be the. Because I'm sure I played one that had a 3D games on it. So it wouldn't have been the Lynx.
3D games. No, the Atari Lynx could do 3D games.
Oh, maybe it was the Atari Lynx, but I'm sure as an adult I had a handheld console, and I went for it over the Game Boy something, or whether it was it would have been a Game Boy. Maybe
was it the Nokia N-Gage?
The N-Gage. Well, you know, I really wanted one of them, despite now hearing about the horrors of using it. But no, I'm sure I had. I think it was Ballerina Toshinden or similar 3D fighting game, and being like, "Wow, this is a 3D on handheld," but it was very basic.
It sounds like the Atari Lynx.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, but it says it came out in 1990 in Europe, and I would have been 12. Now, I definitely didn't have it when I was 12.
Well, the second one came out probably 3 years later, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 3 years later, and they were in the bargain basement for £100. I think they even went down as low as £22 £25 in the end, as they got rid of them. But
yeah, the Lynx 2 looks a bit more possibly like what I had, but was it actually the same internals? I don't know.
I think it had slightly upgraded, better battery life.
Slightly improved hardware, better battery life, and a sleeker look.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Either way, I had a handheld like that, and I think after having about 2 or 3 games, I then sold it and probably got a Game Boy Advance or put it towards PlayStation 1 or something like that. So
Batman Returns was very good on the Lynx.
Yeah,
that was a great game.
Fly into me.
Bit later on, but PlayStation Portable. Did you have that when that came out?
Loved it.
Yes.
I used to have like movies on mine.
UMD movies, yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
In
fact, I imported the PSP 4 months before it came out in the UK from Japan. We had a supplier out there that got us about 50 of them. So we sold them all over here with a load of games. We were playing Ridge Racer and Mercury. We're going called Mercury. We had like a piece of Mercury that had to go
I
around.
love that game. Yes, I had
Archer
that.
McLean, Mercury. That was it.
Yes.
But yeah, phenomenal
Puzzle
machine.
game.
Yeah,
I had that. What's it? Loco.
Poco Loco.
You're like a ball. You just roll around.
Yes, and you just used the shoulder buttons, didn't you, to tilt the world?
Yeah, the way you wanted to.
That's two. I mean, you've probably for me, both of you have just named the two games A that I owned, amongst others, and B that were probably my favourites on the PSP. I do like a puzzle game. Yeah.
There was an amazing zombie game on the PSP that never got replicated. It was called Infection or Infected. And essentially what you would do is play the game as a character. If you got bit by a zombie, you would become a zombie. And you could look at the map and see your infection going around all the other PSP users that played the game. So it
was an online game.
Yeah, and it was a phenomenal game. Like you could continue playing, and then there was hacks healing people from becoming zombies, and then they could go around as people again. It was just endless. You never ever finished the game as such. It was a phenomenal game. Ooh. One of the best zombie games I think I've ever played.
I'm just looking at it. It looks a bit sort of almost Grand Theft Auto-ish.
Yeah.
Streets with and shooting things and whatnot.
Essentially, yeah.
I like my PSP. Ape Escape, was that on PSP?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Ape Academy. Was it?
Ape Academy, yeah, that was one.
I remember having that because
I used to love playing.
That was like, there was like the 1 second sprint where you had to be like that. You could play it with your
Escape
friend,
on the Loose. Ape Escape P.
Sure, it was Ape Academy.
Ape Escape Academy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one.
That was another game that I've tried on PS2 recently. It was Ape Escape 3. I didn't play it for very long though because it did just seem like little levels where you caught a couple of apes. But I haven't gotten very far to pretty much do anything with it, so I can't really comment on whether it's any good or not. I played it literally for 10 minutes.
Virtual Tennis was always good on the PSP. That was a great game.
I think I tried that one. So.
Virtual Tennis was great on all formats, though, wasn't it? Really?
I had it on the Xbox. I think it was on the Xbox. Yeah. I had what was the Outspin? I think that was the one on Xbox. It was a game.
Don't remember.
You could make your own character. I don't know if you could do that on Virtual Tennis, but you made your own character. Did a career mode. It was pretty easy though. So you think like how dominant Djokovic is and Nadal and Federer. I did that in about 4 years. I won about 20 odd Grand Slams in that time because you would win just every tournament in the end. I think it was good. Or no, Topspin. The Topspin.
Yeah.
Joe, my favourite tennis game probably ever was used to be one. I think it was Smash Court Tennis, but the original Smash Court Tennis back in the arcades, maybe even in the 80s. I don't know, but it was overhead, and it was an arcade. I think. I'm not sure. But anyway, I think it was Smash Court Tennis. Very good game. I digress.
My favourite tennis games were International Tennis on the CDI. Again, photorealistic, really good game. Once you learn how to play it, it was great. And then they released an updated version that was 2-player. That was phenomenal. And the other one was Wimbledon Tennis on the Amstrad. So we're really going back some. So stick players. Amazing.
If we go back tennis a long time ago, I played on my dad's interstate console, which was basically Pong.
Yeah,
all the Pong games, yes, had those back in the early 80s. God, show me age. But anyway, so we were getting on to what were we talking about originally? We were talking about
favorite machines.
Favorite Nintendo machines. We had to stop
I
talking
know.
about
And
tennis
then we ended
games.
up talking about tennis games.
But,
All the handhelds in history.
yeah, well, so yeah, handhelds. Yeah, it was the only one Nintendo's I owned, but I think Tom, you've owned pretty much every Nintendo there is, and
yeah.
I think you've owned a lot, haven't you, Martin? Yeah, maybe not the Virtual Boy and things like that, but a lot of the handhelds, a lot of the
I
home
stopped at the
consoles.
virtual boy. Yeah.
So
No, but yeah, I would have got it. But yeah, I over time, either I gone back and got it because I'm someone who like buys retro consoles, and then, or I had it at the time. But yeah, I mean, they just don't do. I mean, they've stopped doing handheld. No one makes handheld. I obviously got the I say that you got the Steam Deck, isn't it? That's probably the last
I think if
one,
Steam
but
Deck
it's all
works
linked now.
for Valve, yeah, because they have control over Steam, and most people just use it out of the box and they buy from Steam, and so they make a ton of money. But no,
What was the Microsoft handheld? Didn't they do one? Didn't they? What's that called?
ooh,
No, I don't think they did. They thought
I mean,
about doing one.
they've tried to do portable hardware. I've had the Surface Duo recently, and obviously the
owned one of
Surface
those.
range.
Yeah.
I think they did. There was a leaked thing, maybe, but
It was in the recent leak. They mentioned the handheld, I believe. The
um,
Surface Duo was. I had the second one of those, and it was dreadful for gaming.
so apparently there I think in the leak there is they're experimenting with a cloud one.
That was it.
But it was, yeah, I mean, they'd be stupid to not look at these things all the time. That's what a lot of people don't realize is that, yeah, your Sonys, your Nintendos, your Microsofts, they've got people who are proposing all sorts of things all the time, you know, and it so happened that one person proposed something like the Switch, and then they made something like that. So, yeah, I mean, Microsoft have got probably prototypes for VR. They've probably got prototypes for handhelds from 10 years ago, from this year, cloud things, all sorts. They've probably got what we proposed last week, you know, a VR cloud handheld.
I think the PlayStation Vita was very good.
Oh,
Menu-wise, it was dreadful, but I think it was.
I do still have that somewhere. It's in the cupboard. I should
really
dig
good.
it out somewhere.
Lord of the Rings. We spoke about Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings Lego on the PlayStation Vita was great fun.
The problem, I think, with PSP and the PS Vita was that they were so easily hacked in the end, and the hardware was so good that people just hacked them, and obviously pirated games, and people use them for emulation, and that meant that Sony made no money from them. Or well, they didn't make enough money to warrant the probably at least cutting even on the hardware, or maybe losing money on the hardware.
And now they're making a new handheld.
Yeah, but do we want to talk about that?
It's a bit rubbish.
Yeah,
I'd rather they forget about it and move on.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, you got things like the Logitech G Cloud, is that one? And I mean, most people when that came out were like, why do you need that? And you think that somebody at Sony would have gone, have you seen the response to that? But hey, it's just us three. Maybe somebody out there likes it.
Yeah, maybe. Would help if you could play your streaming games, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. You've got to be able to stream, but then I bet you if that was able to, if it was able to do that, people would then probably be able to get it to do GeForce Now, to do Xbox, and all sorts, probably within a month.
Yeah.
and then, yeah, again, people want control over the store. They don't want control over the hardware. But you've got to have control over the hardware to have control over the store. And Sony haven't got a good history with that.
No.
So,
Quick flip back to Wii U. I played, Martin, the worst Wii U game ever. And I've got about 60 Wii U games in my collection. And I played the worst one.
Drum
Micro
roll.
Machines.
See, I really like the micro. I've never played the Wii U one, but I all the ones I have played, like the Sega Mega Drive,
I love them.
Nintendo 64.
Mm.
I remember the
Played
Mega
even,
Drive one. Oh, it's fantastic.
So good. But
not
the Wii U
good on
one,
Wii U.
horrific.
So what is this the remake or just a random?
It's a
drop?
3D racer.
Because a remake, a 3D remake came out. I want to say 2-3 years ago.
Maybe. That was good though. That was really good.
Was that good? Okay, so it wasn't that.
The Wii U copy was dreadful.
Oh, he's got to get it. People are. Oh no, that's it. No, Tom's dead. There he is.
There we go. And it's based off the Hot Wheels games, but it's actually on the back says it's be the world's best driver, and it's actually a Micro Machines game. It's not actually Hot Wheels. And yeah, it's absolutely dreadful. So
Staying on the Micro Machines name.
I know it is.
Yeah, I used to love the N64 and the Sega Mega Drive with the cartridge, and it had the extra slots in there, couldn't it? So you could play 4-player. You don't get that now, do you? With games come with controller slots.
Outstanding game, that one.
And then and they had the League, didn't it? And you could go up, and there was like Spider. I can't remember he was like the one in the leather jacket.
Yeah, Hot Wheels.
Walter.
World's best driver.
That's the one. And it's a Micro Machines kind of rip off. Who's it made by? Warner Bros. Games. There we go. That probably says it all. So 24 iconic Hot Wheel vehicles. Test your skills at 50 plus challenges across.
I don't think many people disagree with you because it's on Metacritic, although this is iOS, it says. View all platforms. Oh, no, yeah. So it is. It was on PC, 3DS, 360, Wii U, and PS3, and iOS. And it's got a grand total of 39% on Metacritic.
And there we go. And that's why it should be only £1 when I bought it in CEX.
Well, you're keeping it. It's what is it called? A game. Yeah, when you're looking after games. I can't think of it. When you're keeping games for history.
Preserving them.
Game preservation. That's the one.
I did read an article about like games, physical copies of games will they're starting to disappear because people don't just keep hold of them. So
I'm a main person with that. I don't think I bought a physical game in probably 7 or 8 years, at least.
I like a physical game.
I like a physical game, but I think I'm leaning towards more emulation now.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against physical games, and obviously back in the day,
environment, though, aren't you, Duncan? Eco warrior.
You can sell games on and get new games, and obviously digital stores you can't. I think if whether it's Steam or Microsoft or PlayStation, if they do come up with a way how you can sell on your from your game from your account to another player, I think they'd make a killing.
They should make a little like they do in FIFA where they have like little auctions. You put your game up.
I don't want to play this game anymore. It's currently in the store for £60. I will put it up for £50.
And they take a small cut from it or something. Yeah.
You're onto right.
I mean, they could dictate the prices, kind of thing. Yeah, if they want. Say this is buying off another user, £50, and the user gets £40, and depending on how much they paid for it, kind of thing. So it means that you sell it before a sale, and you can get £40 for a £60 game, or if you, I don't know, if that game has been half price, you can only sell it for a maximum of £25. But then that's permanent, maybe.
I'm going to pose a question to you both. I have a big issue with people who say they have a complete game collection when it's just the cartridge or just the discs. I am very much, you can only have a complete collection if it's boxed with instructions, with the game. What are your thoughts?
Well, for me, this comes again to like the Atari 2600 Plus that we were talking about. If you're a collector, you want the cartridge, you want the box, instructions, all that kind of thing. If you just want to play it, why wouldn't you emulate?
Yep.
But that's with the Atari games. If it's something like Wii U, you want to play it. So no, I think it depends on. You can have a complete collection and play it. In that case, you've got the games. If you've got every single game ever made, it is complete. But you're not collecting to sell or complete or have a museum or whatever you're doing. So I
reckon
the
console as well. I reckon depends on because when it was cartridges and it was like a box, like Nintendo 64, it's hard to find a complete game because you just get either a battered box. Yeah. So when I had the Nintendo 64 a few years back, whenever I did get games, it was always just the cartridge. Whereas now with my Wii U, I mean, I would not buy just a CD. I know people do sell just a CD, but I would always just get the full box. So I think like cartridges, it's more acceptable. I don't know, Tom, you might be like, no, it has to be. Because like you look at remember the Game Boy Color or all the Game Boys, those boxes. I mean, I reckon I had one for like a week and it would start like falling apart. But then I was a
kid. I couldn't look after these kind of things.
I was like blowing my nose with it and everything. So
I sold all my cartridges that had no boxes. I got rid of them all, and many times I've had a rant on people's YouTube channels when they're like, "I've got a complete Super Nintendo collection." I'm like, "It's not complete. You don't have the box."
Yeah, so, if you're collecting for displaying and being sort of a collector, yes, I would say yes. You need that.
You wouldn't want to be.
Martin doesn't need a box and instructions to play the Super Nintendo.
No,
if he's got the cartridge. So it all depends. Yeah, if you've got somebody on YouTube that's going, I've got everything. Hey, look at me. Then okay, no, they haven't. So it all depends on what kind of collector they are.
Wouldn't want to be one of these people, Tom, where you have like I remember like back in the day of the PlayStation, where I'll say it now because it was in the 90s, but every single PlayStation seemed to be chipped back then. And then you'd go around your friend's house and then you'd get like a big CD booklet thing, and then they would just have all their games
horrific.
in there.
Some of us did the disc swap method. Put a bit of blue tack on the door and the door opening clip, so it thought that the thing was shut, and you used to be able to put an authentic one in, and you had to swap it. Not that I ever did that.
You can do that on the GameCube as well. There's a something called a disc loader. It's quite a rare disc.
Oh yes,
yeah. And if you, I mean, they go for about £50 now, I think. And then you put that in. And if you put F-Zero in on the GameCube, after putting that in, it unlocks the arcade version of F-Zero. If you do it with Star Wars and you have the limited edition disc, it opens up the original arcade Star Wars from the 1982, I think it is, and then you can play that as well. So that's
was that the Vector line Star Wars, the Vector graphics?
That's the one. And it is really good on the GameCube, but you have to have this particular disc to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just looking at the time. We've been
we have been
over an hour
for ages as usual.
but we would usually do on this day. I don't know if we you want to mention any.
What we were saying, I think there was Prince of Persia on the Apple II was 34 years ago this week. So yeah, it wasn't really a big week that we could see, but don't quote us on that. Castlevania Symphony of the Night 26 years ago.
Wow, that was a good game on the PlayStation, wasn't
it? So Resident Evil 6 came out 11 years ago. No, not Shining Force 2, 30 years ago. There you go. King of Fighters. Medieval 25 years ago.
Oh, good game.
Very good game.
That PlayStation?
That was PlayStation 1, yeah. They were doing a sequel to it or a remake. I think it got cancelled, didn't it? Is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, I found one. Found one for me. Everybody else will be like, maybe. Okay, all right, that was all right. Broken Sword, number 1, 27 years ago. 27 years.
And it recently had a new game brought out.
Well, they've also announced, I think, a remake of the first one.
That's right.
Because although it still looks fantastic, because it's basically a slightly low resolution cartoon. But it had that. I don't know if you know the goat puzzle, which you had to click on a goat, click on. I don't know, but you had to. It was a timed puzzle in a point and click, so it was really hard to work out. And I think I only ever worked it out with a guide on PlayStation 1. Yes, PlayStation 1. So, but still a classic point and click to this day. Broken Sword 1 and 2, everybody should play it. They're great stories. I think the remastered ones they sorted out the goat puzzle, so it wasn't so easy. So it wasn't so hard. And also guides are readily available everywhere. So I think you can even get it on your phones nowadays. But yeah, great games. Any that you've spotted or Doom 2, 29 years ago? Blimey. Okay. I thought that was older, but no.
Time Splitters 2 came out 21 years ago.
Which one?
Wow, came out. Time Splitters 2. That was on October the 8th, so we're not quite there yet.
Shooter.
Anyway, Assassin's Creed came out today. The new Assassin's Creed.
Yes, we were going to chat about that
very, very quickly. Get that in, but
yeah, it's got some okay reviews. I think it's divided. I think it's dividing people. Yeah, going back to its roots. Some saying yay, some saying whatever. But mostly good. I think. I can't wait to play it at some point.
Some people really love the Assassin's Creed games, don't they? So I've never been. I liked them, but I've never been someone who's like.
I'll be interested to play on the VR. It's coming out on the Quest 2 soon. So I'm looking forward to that.
Which version?
That'd be a pretty good game for the VR. It's the settings are always the best thing about the Assassin's Creed games. So to be virtually there,
yeah, squatting behind people and jabbing them. Yeah, that'd be good. Good fun on VR as well. But yeah, the original ones were forced the stealth a lot more than the more recent ones. I love the more recent one. I love Origins, Valhalla, Odyssey, but I do have a fondness for the first one because the first one looked beautiful when it came out. It was absolutely amazing on the 360, and
always convenient bells of hail around there, weren't there? You could jump into.
The VR version is called Nexus. There you go.
Okay, and that's coming out on the Quest 2.
Yeah, Quest 2 and 3 is Assassin's Creed Nexus. I think it may even be out already.
Ooh, I might have to have a look at that. If I can pry my stepson off his Quest 2. Right.
Just it was Black Flag. That was on Wii U, wasn't it?
It was.
I
never played it.
Never played it either. So probably
played it.
Black
There
Flag
you go,
is possibly the best one. Yeah, possibly the best one. Hence why Skull and Bones was created and might come out at some point, but that's for another day.
I'm going to play that this weekend on the Wii U. There we go.
What's that? The
Black Flag.
Yeah.
Ah, Black Flag.
There you go. You can
Fantastic
do it.
game.
Duncan
It's a
and give us
big
a
game.
review.
Big game. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna. What was it I was gonna promise to play? I don't know.
Try the Madness of Alice in on the Game Pass. It's Alice in Wonderland. It's called the Madness of Alice. It's a really twisted game.
Oh, is that the 360 game?
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, because it's by what's his name? Yeah, because he's lost the rights to Alice because he wants to make a sequel, but they won't let him. Basically, I think.
Definitely an amazing game.
I have
one
played
more
that.
thing. Just and again, I won't. But I just want to ask Tom, just because we were talking about big games on the Wii U, Xenoblade. Have you played the Xenoblade Chronicles?
Hang on, let me just get a screenshot up of it.
Is that an RPG? Is it?
That was
JRPG?
like the what? Yeah, JPRG. But it's a what you had to like. Well, you didn't have to, but you they recommended you get an update. It was a free update you could get on your Wii U.
Great game.
Because the game was so sort of big, and it would just make also the load times. If you don't have that update, apparently the load times were quite bad. But unfortunately, I missed the update because
also made my Wii U heat up considerably for some reason. So you can download the update online, and you can install it with an SD card, as far as I'm aware.
Okay. Yeah, I think I tried. Maybe I didn't have enough space. I can't remember. There was an issue when I tried to, because it's like a free download, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't have the game, but I thought I'd download it anyway.
I might even have 2 copies. I may even be able to send one your way if I do. I'll check if I've sold it. If I haven't, it's yours.
Yeah, Games Club.
I can't wait to find out here. What was it you were going to play? You were going to play
Assassin's Creed
Black Flag.
Black Flag.
It is a big game, so if you play it for half an hour, you probably will be like, eh. But it's great game. It's got the great ship-to-ship combat, which is quite hard until you get a lot of upgrades. But great game and great. Yeah, it's got a good story. Good game.
We're checking that out. Another game I'm going to play on the PlayStation Vita will be Batman Blackgate.
Okay.
Yeah. Very good game.
Is it? Okay. Never played that, but right. I think we've had nearly an hour and 10 minutes. Longest episode ever.
Congrats. Well done, guys. Pat ourselves on the back.
We always find things to natter about.
That's it.
So much. There is so much to go on. I could carry on.
I
wanted to start speaking about Batman games, but then my partner probably wants to go to bed and I'm in the bedroom. So
oh dear.
Just talk to yourself and
like
you'll think you're still on the podcast.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Please do give us a comment or a review or anything. Yeah, just let us know that you're listening. And share.
Yeah, share away.
So there you go.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.